And we are back. Thank you for joining us on this Friday edition of Infowars Nightly News. We're about to have an in-depth interview with the head of the Trends Journal, who's been calling it like he sees it. And unfortunately, he's been about 99% accurate. Gerald Celente, my mother's favorite guest. It was Gerald Celente and Bob Chapman. Bob Chapman died Monday. They buried him, God rest his soul, on Wednesday. So now he's the sole survivor of my mother's twin favorite guest. And that is Gerald Celente, but everybody should pray for Bob and his family, a great patriot in the fight for liberty. TheInternationalForecaster.com has a lot of the archive work he did, and Bob was also very accurate in his predictions. Speaking of accurate predictions, Jesse Ventura's back in town, and he's going to give us the first interview coming up, I think it's Monday or is it Tuesday, on his new book that we happen to have. This isn't even for sale till Monday, but we're selling it now at Infowars.com, and your purchase supports the broadcast. It's Demo, Crips, and Republicans. No More Gangs in Government. He told me this title a year ago when he began to write it. He just finished it a few months ago, and it's an amazing new book. Really helps expose how special interests own both parties and how it's a gang and how you don't get into the upper echelons unless you join the gang. That's why things can't change. This is available at InfoWarsShop.com. or InfoWarsStore.com will also get you there. And your support makes all of this possible. We also have 15-day free trials running at PrisonPlanet.tv for all of my films, my book, Paul Watson's book, hundreds of other films we've been authorized to post, 9+ years of my radio show and special TV reports, and now the nightly news, 15 cents a day, PrisonPlanet.tv. It is so important to support the alternative media that now in numbers is defeating the dinosaur, corporatist, Demo, Crips, and Republicans system. Now, speaking of somebody who understood all of this, Gerald Celente, been a consultant, worked in government, best-selling author, researcher, one of the top trends forecasters in the world. And we'll have his website on screen for you. Hope that you will visit it and sign up for the free trends alerts there, but also sign up to get the journal itself, because Gerald has been called by the New York Times, you name it, a pessimist porn dealer. He said years before it happened, Greece would implode by design. He said Ireland would, then Spain, then Italy, then Portugal, then France. Why, it's all happening just like he said. He talked about the rise of the Tea Party before it rose. He has accurately seen what's coming. And months ago, I don't know, it was 2-3 months ago, he was on. He said, I'm disappointed in Ron Paul. He's not being enough of a hard charger. He's not going after the Republican-Democratic system enough. I don't think this is going to go well. His supporters, like myself, he said of himself, are going to be disappointed. And the first question I've got for him tonight, before we get into the latest trends developments, what's happening in the world in general, and future trends he sees developing, and new augmentations or things he can add to some of the interim and closer trends that are now unfolding. Before we go there, I wanted to ask him the question that's on everybody's mind. What does Gerald Celente think of Senator Rand Paul, who's got a pretty good voting record compared to other senators, not as good as his dad, coming out and endorsing Mitt Romney while simultaneously he's been coordinating with his father's campaign and implying, hey, we're getting the delegates, we're still going to win somehow. And I'd held my tongue, but around in the office I said, I don't want to hear about this delegate business, because if he went in there and even got enough delegates, the media would say he was stealing the election. But he doesn't even have 20%, so everybody thinks he's going to win. They're playing into this. This is going to be a big letdown when Ron Paul doesn't win. He's won by injecting constitutionalist ideas, exposing the Federal Reserve, crony capitalism, the monopoly system. Well, in the same day, last night, Paul comes out in a press release, Senator Paul's father, Congressman Paul, and says, be nice, we're not going to win now with the delegates. Go there and be respectful of a Republican system that's stolen delegates, a Republican system that has arrested people and beating them up as we speak at different delegate events everywhere, where Paul's got all the delegates and the leadership says we're changing the rules and the cops beat everybody up. The same Republicans that stole Iowa, that's now come out mainstream news, the same delegates that have stolen all of these other, the same Republican system that's stolen the delegates and that's stolen these big races. This is incredible. And all Ron Paul has is that he's never compromised. Even if we don't agree with all of his policies, and I agree with almost all of them, It's the fact that he never compromised, never flip-flopped, never was bought off, was a true blue person, even if he wasn't the best orator. Now, to have Ron Paul come out and do this when his son on the same day comes out and endorses Romney, this has caused a mass exodus, a huge conniption fit inside of libertarians and constitutionalists. And here's the big problem. And I covered it earlier in my message to Ron Paul. The supporters are now being attacked by the mainline Republicans and said, kooks, shut up, he's gotten wise. And it's very insulting, and people feel betrayed, they feel used, and they're very, very angry, almost like a scorned woman. And if this wasn't done on purpose by the Rand Paul and Ron Paul campaigns, it might as well have been. If Jesse Benton didn't do this on purpose to destroy Ron Paul's name, well, then a little devil told him in his ear, because you couldn't figure out a way to destroy Ron Paul's capital better than joining with Romney and telling people, hey, go sit down and shut up and be nice. So that's my little rant on the subject. Joining us is Gerald Celente. Briefly on that, then we'll segue into all the other data he's got on Europe and more. Gerald, thank you for coming on with us today. This is well, an amazing time to be alive. What do you make of the whole Ron Paul, Rand Paul situation?
Rand Paul is an untested commodity. He's brand new into the game. He says a lot of things that get people, they knock him off kilter, and then he gets back on. So, you know, I'm not sold on him yet. And as for Ron Paul, I'm disappointed. And as you well know, and I've made it publicly clear, he would have been the only candidate that I would have voted for. And I would have voted for him. Again, I didn't agree with a lot of what he said, but most of what he said, particularly on the important issues of the wars and the Federal Reserve. Now, by him going and supporting the Republican Party, as I've made very clear, I look at the Republicans and the Democrats as just a political crime family, a gang of 535. That's how many senators and congressmen there are. So I'm not going to be an accessory to the crime. And by voting for a Republican or a Democrat, to me, it's a criminal act. Because when Ron Paul or Rand Paul says to support the Republican Party and Mitt Romney, who is that supporting? Oh, McConnell? Lindsey, the Graham cracker over there? I mean, look at this cast of characters. Bonner? So who are we supporting by taking Ron Paul's word to go after Mitt Romney? Mitt Romney, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. There is nothing that Mittens Romney stands for that one Ron Paul supporter I know could buy into it. Tell me the issue. Tell me one issue that Mittens is on board with what Ron Paul and all of his supporters, and I know a lot of these guys, particularly these young guys that gave all their sweat, their blood, and their money, and to really, really pound the pavement for Ron Paul. So I have to tell you, to me, this is a sellout. Because doing anything with the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, as I said, is doing something with the Bananos or the Gambinos. They're just a crime family with a white shoe label on them. These are the mass murderers, send over drones, start wars, and rob your money. Why would anybody support them unless they're out of their minds?
Gerald, Ron Paul has a great voting record. He's a man of integrity. What are they thinking, telling their constituents, hey, we're going to win with the delegates, don't worry, and then now saying, oh, yeah, go be respectful of Romney, basically, and the same day having Rand come out and make the announcement on Sean Hannity. I mean, if Paul would have come out with a press conference with his son, or if the senator would have come out and explained, we believe it's politics 101, we want to try to influence from within, well, the Pauls don't do politics 101, or at least they hadn't. That's why Ron was loved. The way they did this is so destructive. I mean, do you think it's ham-fistedness, or do you think they lost touch? Because just as somebody who studies this stuff, I couldn't have imagined, but I know you worked in politics as well, something more destructive, more stupid to do. Why do you think they did this? Just starstruck by Romney?
You know, I don't know. I don't know what's inside their head or inside their heart. and I could only speculate that they didn't have a shot at this, and it was a face-saving move not to be excluded completely, and maybe he'll get a little bit of floor time or something. Maybe they cut a little deal like that.
But it's good to be excluded from the...
I agree. As I said, I don't associate with lesser of two evils, and that's what this is. So what Ron Paul and Rand Paul have asked their supporters to do is to support a lesser of two evils. And as I said, show me only one major issue that Ron Paul supporters believed Ron Paul in that Mittens Romney supports. I don't know of any. So I see absolutely no validity in his doing something like this.
Well, I've quietly had high-level Republican media people contact me and basically tell me this was coming, and I didn't even know what to say. I didn't know if they were telling me the truth. I figured they were. They've given me good info before. And just watching a lot of other things happening, Ron Paul was saying they were going to take over the Republican Party. But instead, that mafia, as you've described it, that organized crime syndicate, it's just taking them over. I don't think it's too late, though, for Ron Paul to come out and clarify his stance and try to pull out of this. But if they continue down this road, man, I think this means curtains for the whole Ron Paul franchise.
Well, again, Rand Paul coming out, and correct me if I'm wrong, supporting Romney. Is that right?
Yes, we have the clip. He says he's a great guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, that to me loses all credibility. And there is absolutely, as I said, there's not one issue that Romney stands on that Ron Paul supporters believe in. And here you have Rand Paul, that's supposed to be the follow-up to his father, selling out the folks. And so and that's why I've said, Alex, as you well know, I'm not voting in this election. And my belief is that if less than 40% of the people go to the polls, we can call this an illegitimate election. What are they giving us? A choice between Pepsi and Coke, Burger King or McDonald's. You eat or drink any one of them, it's going to kill you.
Exactly.
So that's our choice of a country of 312 million people, and we got these two presidential reality show candidates left? I mean, did you see Obama on The View? What a disgrace. Sitting there with the ladies of The View, Malai and Sasha and his wife there, Michelle, they make fun of my big ears and my big nose. Could you imagine Eisenhower sitting there? Could you imagine Eisenhower calling up, hey, Mamie, I'm thinking of, should we go invade Normandy today? Ask the kids, as Obama, I asked Malai and Sasha, they have some friends in school that have gay parents, whether or not, we should have this gay bill. Could you imagine Eisenhower doing this? Look at these guys. They're not guys. They're metrosexuals, half man, half woman. Who knows what they are? But I can tell you what they don't have. So by Rand Paul selling out Ron Paul supporters to me, this is the reason why we need a new third party and break the chains from this control that we have. Look, I grew up during the Cold War. They used to say, they're having an election in the Soviet Union. What a joke. 98% of the people get reelected. Yeah, just like in the United States. What, 96% of the incumbents get back in because they buy the elections? What do you mean buy the elections? Those are campaign contributions. Yeah, how about bribes and payoffs?
Let's expand on that. What do you predict is going to happen next politically now if you have Mitt Romney bought and paid for by Bain Capital, Obama bought and paid for by it? He helped write Obamacare. He's for open borders, gun control, all the things Obama supports. I see no Mitt Romney stickers, only Ron Paul stickers everywhere. The tail is wagging the dog. You predicted the Tea Party 2 years before it materialized. What do you predict comes now? What's going to become of constitutionalists that use Ron Paul as a focal point? What do you see with 5 million guns being sold a month? What do you see in the future of this country? And then let's look at Europe financially and other trends that are on your radar screen.
Well, first of all, on the political end, there's a huge vacuum, and it's waiting to be filled. And now Ron Paul has vacated it. There is no Freedom Party anymore. There's no Constitutional Party anymore. It's gone. And all of this election is going to be, again, it's going to be a corporate media election. And you're the Bilderberg man, you and Webster Tarpley, you're the guys that he put it on the map, you kept it on the map. And what you have done, the whole United States and much of the world should applaud you and your team for putting this out in public. Because you got the two Bilderberg buddies fighting it out. That's all this is. May the worst man win, because both of them are nothing more than mouthpieces for the group. So now as you want me to look at what's going on in the world, this was a very important week, and tomorrow is going to be an important day. The Spanish government really desperately needs about 40 billion euros to bail out their banks. They're going to be crying for more euro support. I want to make this really clear. The European Monetary Union charters have been destroyed. They're not worth the paper they're printed on. They're just a lot of crap. They don't abide by them. Countries aren't supposed to get bailed out. The next big thing is, and this is very important, are they going to come out with a Euro bond scheme? We're going to take all these useless bonds from countries like Italy and Spain and Portugal and Greece and Ireland and put them in a basket and call one level on them so they could keep the Ponzi scheme going. They're talking about doing a bond deal that they won't have to pay them off for 25 years.
And again, you said years ago, and Bob Chapman and many others, that exactly this would happen. They implode it by design, claim they're the saviors, and then get everybody even into deeper debt when over 90% of it is derivatives that these gangsters created. It's incredible, and we covered that in the news portion tonight. They're now announcing it. I mean, how much will Europe put up with?
They'll continue to do it, just like they put up in this country. So as long as the systems stay up and they keep the natives from rebelling, that's all they're interested in doing. So I believe they're going to come up with another scheme that's going to keep this thing in check. Now, China just lowered interest rates and dumped more stimulus in. Australia lowered interest rates. India, the rupee is crashing. They're going to dump more stimulus. Inflation and just Brazil lowering interest rates. Their GDP numbers are way off. Russia, look at the price of commodities. Oil prices are plummeting. Why? A lot of it has to do with supply and demand. The demand is not there.
So what we've got is depression in the real economy with certain areas of inflation. That's like a double whammy, isn't it?
You got it. And so they know this. And so this is a big weekend, because if they don't this is the one to watch. If the euro crisis isn't solved, the entire global economy crashes. Most of China's exports go into Europe. The next big market is the U.S. If the U.S. and Europe don't buy, China, Vietnam, Indonesia, India, they don't sell. If they don't make stuff to sell, Australia, Brazil, Chile, Bolivia, they're not exporting natural resources. The entire system is collapsing. The one to watch is Europe. And listen to what Obama is doing already. They're already blaming Europe for the problems over here in the U.S. And the lousy job numbers, one thing after another, productivity numbers, new home sale numbers, you go down the list, they're blaming Europe. Now, having said that, we saw Osama bin Bernanke, America's public enemy #1 yesterday, come out and say, well, we haven't closed the door on QE3. We're still looking at it. Something may happen. Here's my forecast. Watch for the unemployment numbers in June and July, particularly the June numbers when they come out. If they're dismal, count on more QE2. To me, Bernanke is nothing more than a flunky for Obama, just like Greenspan was for Bush 1 and Bush 2. But Bush 1, if you go back to the 1992 elections, they started lowering interest rates and juicing the economy before the 92 election, and they just came up a little bit too short and allowed Bill Clinton to get in there. They won't make this mistake this time. They will do everything everything to juice this economy before the election, and short of that, if they don't, El Presidente of los Estados Unidos, because we've turned into a banana republic, will start a dandy little war. Hey, you want to send some more drones? How about knocking out Iran? I got to tell you, Alex, we got to stop them Syrians. Hey, look what's going on over there in Yemen. Those Al-Qaedas are loose. Got to get down here in Sudan and Somalia. No, they're going to take us to war if they can't bail us out of the economy to make it look good so Obama wins.
So who are you predicting they're going to put in? Not that it matters between the two.
I think it's going to be Obama. That's our forecast. We don't see Romney beating him. It's a presidential reality show, and the people vote on the one. You know, that's saying that politics is show business for ugly people. Obama's a better performer. That's all it comes down to.
Well, maybe that's what Ron Paul and Rand Paul think, is get him on the VP. They run, they lose, but now Rand is even better known, and then that gives him a shot in 4 years. But the Pauls had never played politics, and it just seems so destructive.
It is. It is, because this isn't about politics. It's about principle. It's about morality. It's about war. Look at the report that came out today. What are our soldiers committing suicide? One guy a day? I mean, can't the country wake up to this? We're using these poor men and women as cannon fodder for psychopaths to send them into these terrible places like Afghanistan and Iraq. For what?
For five, six, seven tours. Okay, I've been asking the questions here on the economy, on politics. In the new Trends Journal coming out, what else are you really looking on or looking into right now?
Oh, it's the global economic issue. We are very concerned of a global collapse and a move to World War III. Because here, add it up, Alex. Even the Republicans and Democrats could add this one up. You got a war in Yemen. You got one in Syria. The people are taken to the streets in Morocco. They had enough of their king. You have a war in Bahrain. Oh, don't call it a war. Them and them Shia Iranians that are instigating it over there. Couldn't be because the Fifth Fleet is over there. You have Egypt is falling apart. Remember we said nothing would come of the fall with Mubarak. Here goes the old boss. Welcome the new boss. Tunisia's still a mess. Spain, the indignados are out in the street. What do you have? 25% unemployment. And they have the gall to call it a recession. It's a depression. Spain, Greece, the new numbers came out, a depression, 24%, 22% unemployment official. You go over to Italy, they're in a recession/depression. You're seeing uprising and riots worldwide. Hungary is in a recession. Lithuania is in a recession, Bulgaria, Romania. It's a world is at war. Look at the parties that are coming to power. Yeah, look in Italy, the Beppe Grillo party, the Five-Star Movement. It's now the third largest party. You look what happened in France with Le Pen. Look what's happening in Greece with that new party that's
Cyprus.
Yeah, so it's one after another. The world is blowing up in front of our face, and no one wants to put the pieces together. That's what we're writing about.
Gerald,
what is it going to take?
Let me raise this point to you, then it goes back to politics versus principle. What does the ruling class think they're doing? I mean, they've got to know that all they can do is a big war, but that's not going to probably work either, most analysts say. 30,000 armed drones, TSA checkpoints. It's clear they're getting us ready for martial law. But the police and military I talk to are really starting to wake up. I think we could end up actually arresting these globalists. They're all a bunch of Bernie Madoff, Ken Lay types. I mean, now finally J.P. Morgan is having to pay back the $600 million or whatever that they got from MF Global. I saw that in the Wall Street Journal last week. Did you get your money back?
Oh, no. And that guy, John the Slime Corzine, they may throw some civil suit on him. No bringing him in for fraud charges. You haven't seen one head roll. on Wall Street. The Goldman Sachs gang gets what? A couple of years ago, $555 million fine, a couple of days worth of business. We neither admit nor deny any wrongdoing. What do you mean? It happened by itself? No, you said before, you were mentioning, can't these elitists and globalists see what they're doing? Do you need any better proof than Christine Lagarde, the head of the IMF, the International Mafia Federation, saying last week, let them Greek people pay the taxes. They gotta pay the taxes. I have more sympathy for what's going on in Africa than what's going on in Greece. Hey, Christina, baby, paying taxes lately? Hey, no, Celente, screw you. Don't you know who I am? I'm Christine Lagarde, a diplomat. We don't pay taxes because we make our own rules.
Yeah, let me stop you. For those that don't know, EU diplomats, I was told this 2 years ago by a member of the EU Parliament, Nigel Farage, and I believed him, but I went and looked it up. They wrote the rules where they pay zero tax. They exempt themselves. 92% of the Greek debt, even Wall Street Journal admits, is derivatives that Goldman Sachs exec they got in as president, Papandreou, signed them onto. And then she's got the nerve, when she's up there, the IMF known to perch on countries and bankrupt them, to take control, saying, give me the money. I mean, she is literally, like you said, she makes John Gotti look like a saint. These crooks are so arrogant. She needs to go to hell.
It's a let them eat baklava moment from Madame Legrand. So this is what I'm saying. They're out of touch. This is 1797 all over again. You want to get in a good entrepreneurial opportunity? Guillotines may be hot. Because people have had it with this kind of, you see it could not be more blatant. There's a total disconnect. What's Pelosi worth? What do they say? $120 million? You think she made this money because she's so smart?
I think it's 300 mil. I think it's 300 mil. I think she doubled the last few years, Gerald.
Yeah, I mean, it's all because of inside deals. That's all it is. And by the way, the people that support these parties, they're the wannabes. The people out there say, oh, you still could make it. You know, no, you can't. If you're not in the club, you're not going to make it. And they don't want you in the club. So where is it going? That's where it's going. The thing is collapsing in front of us. But as I said, I believe they're going to come up with another stimulus scam bailout plan to get us out of the problems. Remember, we're going into July, August, September, October, November. So, you know what, 3.5 months, we're basically through Election Day. Oh, and the big one is going to be the debates. Whatever happens in the debates, it's right near the end. That'll ice it for whomever. But we're betting that, we're not betting that, you know, because we lose either way. We're saying that Obama is going to win.
You're saying in the Don King rigged boxing match that they're going to have Romney take the dive.
Romney, he just doesn't have the chops as we see.
Oh, let me add this. I've seen no Romney bumper stickers. One of my crew saw one in Dallas. I mean, where is this guy? And you know, here's Rand Paul, everybody, bowing down, be respectful, kiss the rump of Romney correctly.
Exactly. And you haven't heard from him since he won what? The Texas primary. So you haven't heard anything about him. He's going to go out there. The guy is stiff as a board. You know, he looks like a shirt salesman or somebody. You know, he's the perfect look. He has, you know, so and Obama knows how to play the game. Again, you see Michelle, she's on the late night shows. You see they know how to play the game better. And all it is, again, is politics is show business for ugly people. And Obama's the better actor.
Well, I tell you, either way, we are in a lot of trouble. In a way, I think it's better if Obama gets back in because we already know politically he's a piece of garbage, and Romney will fool conservatives to go back to sleep.
I disagree. I think it'll be even more dangerous with Obama, and I'll tell you why. Because Obama gets away with things that George W. Bush could never get away with without the liberals screaming bloody murder. For example, the latest new expose on how Obama goes through the checklist to say, that's a militant, take him out, that's a militant, take him out, that's a militant, take him out. If Bush was doing this, they'd be going.
You know
off
what?
the charts.
I revise. You're absolutely right. My point is, politically, a lot of people are going to go to sleep under Romney, but I guess you're right. With the media, Obama is now like the Fuhrer with death lists, and he says, I'll kill citizens. I'll do whatever I want. You're right. Wow. But, I mean, again, it doesn't matter because I'm not voting for either one of them.
Yeah, but again, the big thing is if either one wins, we lose. But I'm really concerned about Obama, the National Defense Authorization Act, his executive orders, what we've gotten from the Justice Department with the
Fast and Furious.
Yeah,
but Romney says he loves NDAA.
That's what I said. We know, but look what happened, how it got slipped through. If Romney or Bush tried to do it, the liberals would have been screaming. But Obama did it. It's lockjaw. You don't hear a word. And Obama, as we're seeing with this checklist of who to take off, oh, look, by the way, El Presidente, the militant's family, his wife and kids and in-laws, they're all in the same house. Listen, take them out anyway.
Kill him, he says. Thumbs down. No, it's insane.
It is. And by the way, I make this really clear when people ask me what to do and what could change. And I make this 100% clear. The fish rots from the head down. And until morality comes back into this country, we're doomed. This is a moral issue. And I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about morality. The golden rule, do unto others. And I was thinking that, could you imagine if the Taliban were occupying Washington, D.C.? Could you imagine these little weenies over there fighting back? They would fold and cave in.
No. The media would line up behind the Taliban and say, we'll do whatever you say, sir.
Exactly. They would be the Quislings of the 21st century. Every one of these guys. And I say that because there's not a man among them. They all talk tough, but they never go out there into the front lines and lead the charge. They all play commander-in-chief and chicken hawk El Supremo, but none of them get their little fingernails dirty.
Chicken hawk El Supremo. Speaking of points that you've made, you have predicted that there would be bank runs and that bank holidays. We're now seeing that in Italy. We're seeing that in Greece. We're seeing it to a certain extent in Spain. And as talk of bank holidays and devaluations accelerate, where do you see that popping up next?
Probably Italy, bigger in Spain. Spain is cooked. There's no way out. And everybody, by the way, everybody's talking about Greece. What is Greece? 2% of the Eurozone GDP. In nothing. And so that's the big one right now. Spain is bigger, and then Italy is even bigger than that. What is Italy's debt to GDP ratio of 120%?
And then you look at America, we're even worse in many respects. Imagine when this happens here. My goodness.
Exactly. And everyone seems to have attention deficit disorder. A year ago, do you remember the Beltway blowhards and the Washington wankers, the Republicans and Democrats fighting about how to cut back on the deficit? And do you remember that they downgraded the United States creditworthiness? Does everybody forget that our creditworthiness has been downgraded and nothing has been done to improve the situation? No, this whole thing is a house of cards that's ready to collapse.
And it's clear they want to use the paramilitary police state function as the race in the hole. But I mean, can't they just get arrested like Bernie Madoff? I mean, there's got to be an end to this somehow, or they're just going to feed us whole hog into authoritarianism?
Yes, that's what they're going to do. Look, the only reason that Bernie Madoff took the hit was he screwed the wrong people. He got the very, very rich, the very, very connected, the big names. He got a big chunk of them. You got a guy like John the Slime Corzine. He gets guys like me. I was one of the bigger names that kept this thing in the media. But who did he hit? He hit a bunch of smaller commodities.
A bunch of farmers that were hedging their bet.
Exactly. That's why they go free. Bernie screwed with the wrong people, so he paid the dues. So no, and look, what are they going to do to us? Just like they're doing up in Montreal with that Bill 78, where you have no more freedom to demonstrate anymore. And I have to hand it to the students. They're not giving up. They keep going out. What happened to the Occupy movements in this country? I thought they'd keep going.
Hey, at least we took action with Bilderberg. They were very angry that we were bullhorning
You got it, and you kept that in the news. You did it single-handedly with the supporters behind you. Now, let's play this one back. All of a sudden, Alex Jones says, you know, I don't like the Bilderbergs, but, you know, the Council on Foreign Affairs, they're okay. What would your fans think about you?
They would turn against me in a minute. And what if Ron Paul had been out leading things like that? There'd have been hundreds of thousands or millions, not a few thousand over the few days. And absolutely, I mean, I got to say, it's the playing possum the last few months and making nice in the debates with Romney. People said the fix was in 6 months ago, and I got to say it is. And whoever convinced the Pauls to do this are political idiots, and you ought to fire their ass or take credit for it.
You have to take nobody puts a gun to your head. Not a man. A man doesn't do those things. They stick by their principles. They stick by their word. That's what makes a man a man. Nobody can make me do anything. I can't be bought out, sold off, threatened. Yeah, if they come and put a gun to my head, I'll say I'm getting out of here. But other than that, no, nobody can make me say anything or do anything.
I agree, but
you, as I said, you becoming a member of the Council on Foreign Affairs is the equivalent of Ron Paul supporting Romney. You would lose all your credibility, all of your fans.
Exactly. Even if I wanted to sell out, which I wouldn't, I'm political, savvy enough, and I'm not even that smart, to know that's suicide. What the hell are they thinking?
What they've done is they've killed the freedom movement. And that's what this movement was about. And that's what everybody put their necks on the lines and their feet on the ground for. And you were talking about they have the military in place, as you well know, with the signing of the National Defense Authorization Act. It also repealed the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878, which now allows the military to come and occupy any city, village, state, you name it.
Sure, Gerald, but just to interrupt you, I mean, I just want to be clear here, though. I mean, I think they really hurt the freedom movement with Ron Paul's name on it. And I agree with you, they shouldn't throw somebody under the bus, an advisor, but they should come out and say how this thought process happened. They should clarify it, or they're going to destroy themselves. But I don't think the freedom movement's dead. It's still growing because folks are upset. But I do think it's a serious blow.
Well, no, I agree. No, it's going on. It's big. But Ron Paul was the titular head. He was the one that articulated it. He was the one that brought it into the public. Look, I learned a lot from Ron Paul. I have to tell you, I did not know that the Federal Reserve was a private operation, criminal operation, until I learned it from Ron Paul many years ago. Ron Paul opened my eyes up to a lot of things.
And that's what makes us so sad is he's so good.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like a family member. It's horrible. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so going back on the economic front, it's very important, again, to watch how this unfolds over in Europe. It's also important, I urge everyone to spend a few minutes a day. And by the way, go to your site. Your site's one of my first hits in the morning. The information you're putting up there, you can't find most any place else. But also, I'm urging everyone to tune into the Chinese news.
Yes.
It's the best propaganda outlet out there to really hear what's going on in China. It's almost comic book quality, but they really let you know about what they're thinking. And more importantly, they're covering issues around the world and putting film crews in places that you don't see, along with Russia Today. But one other, and people are going to flip out when I say this, but just hear me out. The World Socialist website, WSWS, they have the most accurate reporting of any of the major issues, from drone attacks to economy, of anyone out there that I read. and I read a lot. I don't go along with the end of it where at the end of almost every one of them, if the workers of the world were in charge, everything would be okay. You know me, I'm a political atheist, so I don't buy into what the politics are. But so what I'm saying to everyone now is that the world is collapsing financially. The systems are breaking apart geopolitically. We're ready for a climax. Stay tuned, because we're going into the summer, and that's the point I wanted to make. We're going into a vacation state of mind when people are out of tune with what's going on. This is an important time to tune in nightly to sites like yours, to sites like mine, and these other sites that I mentioned.
With different perspectives, I agree. This is a critical time. The historians say that more happens in a decade. Sometimes it happens in the last 100. We're entering a time of incredible change. Speaking of sites, there's 2 URLs that bring us there, but what's the best one to visit to find your site?
Oh, Trends Journal, trendsjournal.com. And by the way, Alex, you know, I do Trends in the News videos every day. And so we keep the people right up like what you're doing, but you know, hours and for our subscribers as well. So you know, we're on top of the news and ahead of the trends.
Well, you certainly are, and we always appreciate your time, Gerald Celente. Hopefully, we don't let them pass all these internet censorship bills. But like you said, they ban free speech in Canada in one state or province. People come out anyways. You know, they may say government's God tomorrow. They may say we don't have speech. You know what? I am going to continue speaking, and it's always darkest before the dawn. They've got to show us how tyrannical they are before we fully wake up, and that awakening is happening. Closing comment.
Yes, one thing also, our fine illustrator, Anthony Frida, just won a national award. 4 out of 5 of the awards were given to him for the illustrations in the Trends Journal. So we're very pleased with that. And on another note, about me putting my mind and my money where my mouth and heart are, I just bought a piece of property, a stone building, a 1750 stone building on the most historic corner in the United States, right here in Kingston, the only place on each corner where there's a pre-revolutionary stone house. I bought one of them. This is where the first American Revolution began. And I'm starting the second, doing my part, as you are, to start the second. An intellectual revolution, one of minds and brains, not bullets and bombs. And anyone could Google it up. It's called the Franz, F-R-A-N-Z, Rogan, R-O-G-G-E-N, the Franz Rogan House. I came back from Berlin, and I've told you that I've been haunted by that visit, to see this grand nation of the Germans, the people of Goethe, Einstein, Bach, Beethoven, Wagner, be taken down by a 2-bit freak. And I came back here and I said, I'm not going to be taken down by these 2-bit freaks. And so I decided on the spot, there was a sign for sale, and I came back and I bought it, and I closed on it within a month. That's how much I believe in this country. That's how much I believe in the people that have in their heart the freedom and liberty to live as free people and not under a dictatorship as we're living now. So that's my latest news.
Wow, beautifully said, Gerald. And I think what you just imparted to us is you're all in. Instead of running like so many people are doing, you're going to stand and fight. This is our country. It doesn't belong to the criminal banksters. They're not invincible, and you're all in, and I can see tears in your eyes, and I'm all in too. Let's commit together to fight as long and hard as we can to restore this republic. We can't run. If we run, people say, oh, Alex, I'm intimidated. They admit they're listening to us because they're criminals. You know what? They're doing that. That's an indictment. A confession by the government they're doing that. A confession that they're illegitimate. It doesn't scare me. We're the good guys. We stand for what this country was founded on and the light of the world. We've become this mountain of authoritarian crap, and it's so good to see you saying, I'm committed, I'm staying, and that's it, because that's where the power's at. It's never selling out, never compromising, and it's good to know you're there, Gerald. Well, it's good to know you're there. And everyone, I urge everyone
to find their dignity, their courage, their respect, and their integrity, and their passione, their passion, not to take crap from these people. There are many, 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 many more of us than them. And if we stand united, we will defeat them. They are only a small minority of sociopaths and psychopaths, just like that little freak Hitler, just like that little freak Mussolini, and just like all these freaks on the presidential reality show. Don't let a freak rule you. Find your courage. I want to leave this earth knowing that I'm the person who I said I was and did what I said I would do.
Wow, very well said. And that's what's sad about this move by Paul. I mean, the integrity, and then to just see it. I mean, they better explain this was a mistake or misinterpreted now. If they don't, they're going to destroy themselves. Gerald Celente, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, that's probably some of the most powerful TV we've ever done, and that's what it's all about. I've had to have those discussions with my wife, who's very smart and lived around the world. She lived in Italy, Spain, and France as the child of a diplomat growing up, saw a lot of stuff, and she's like, this is tyranny. We got to get out of here. And I've explained to her there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to run. We cannot have the spirit. Of course, she's got a lot of courage. She gets the death threats. And they call up and tell her, we just heard what you were talking about to your mom. We're going to cut your head off. I mean, that's who runs this government. They're wiretapping us, and they call my wife and threaten her. I mean, this is real, folks. This is real evil. And to watch these cowards in government that Gerald was talking about in closing, and I'm going to say bye to you after the show, Gerald, to watch these cowards sit there and use our military and our police and turn them against us to carry out this tyranny, it is the ultimate abomination. I'll see you back this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m., Lord willing, Central Standard Time at Infowars.com, and back on Monday, 11 a.m. Central on the radio show. Great job to the crew. Get my message to Ron Paul out to him. By the time you see this on television, we're going to be posting it at YouTube and at Infowars.com. Let's bring the message of liberty back to Ron Paul and his son, the Senator Rand Paul. I'm Alex Jones, signing off.